No doubt, there are more than enough Total War games to play, covering a wide array of time periods, and if you include mods, you may as well add Lord of the Rings to the mix. So when I first heard about Thrones of Britannia, my first question was, what the hell is a Total War Saga? By this point we have our historical titles, our Warhammer titles, and now this? I went into this game blind not knowing what to expect and hoped it would be another solid entry into the series. With Troy being announced as the next Total War Saga game, I wanted to check this out to give me an impression on what to expect. First impressions are everything, so can this game deliver? Either way, let's steel ourselves for combat and ready our swords as we dive in to Total War Thrones of Britannia. Cue the montage. Thrones of Britannia focuses on, well, Britannia, right after King Alfred the Great defeated the Viking invaders. To get a better understanding of the time period, I recommend that you check out the video's extra credits made on the subject. It's a great way to get you familiar with this less talked about time period. I'll put the links in the description down below. You get 10 factions to play with, each separated out by English, Welsh, Gaelic, Viking Army, and Viking Fleet factions. I chose to play as the Ghost King himself, Alfred the Great. There are also 3 difficulty sliders for campaign, political, and battle, which is a nice touch. Right off the bat, you can tell this isn't going to be as massive of a campaign as other titles, which is fine since the Saga series is set to be at a smaller scale. Creative Assembly tends to do better when they keep the scale small, so it's not necessarily a negative for this series. It starts off with a cutscene and I really dig this art style. It perfectly encapsulates the early medieval time period. While I usually prefer a cinematic cutscene similar to Attila and Shogun 2, I can appreciate the stylized art here. With that cutscene, I was expecting the game to take a more narrative approach similar to Warhammer 2's Vortex campaign, and while there are events, I didn't really see any more cutscenes play out except during my victory. However, each faction has its own unique mechanics to give each their own flair. Surprisingly, this game makes a lot of design choices that go against what to expect from a traditional Total War. Some of these actually carried over to Total War 3 Kingdoms, while others were best left on the drawing board. Whew, and oh boy, we about to find out why. The biggest one right away is province management. Only the capital for a province has multiple building slots for it. That means regional settlements only have one, and this is automatically chosen depending on the region. Public order also works a little differently here. Instead of public order reaching -100 to incite a rebellion, any province at the negative public order has a small % chance to start a rebellion. Also, religion has been replaced by faction allegiance. The issue is these minor settlements have no freaking garrison, so this means easy pickings for yourself and the AI. I was able to rapidly expand because of this. This was actually carried into 3 Kingdoms, but handled far better there with garrison armies. Speaking of another feature that carried over to 3 Kingdoms is the recruitment of units. You can recruit all types of units from any settlement regardless of the buildings present. While you recruit units and confirm them, they do not start out at 100% strength. Instead, you have to wait a few turns as they replenish over time. You are also limited in the amount of each type of unit you can take, so you don't spam out top tier armies right away. I'm ultimately mixed on this idea because I feel like it just artificially extends the length of the campaign. However, this was done better in 3 Kingdoms as expected. Man, I really should just review 3 Kingdoms already. To me, the most baffling decision was the removal of certain stances. Both forced march and ambush stances have been removed. These became staples since Rome 2 and added much strategy into moving your troops and positioning. This isn't a deal breaker, but definitely a step down in terms of tactical play. Agents have also been removed, which gets rid of one problem with constant AI agent spam. However, there really isn't a worthy replacement for them here, and all it does is eliminate more strategic options. Again, done better in 3 Kingdoms. The political system seemed interesting at first, but easily became an afterthought. You need to keep your loyalty up as characters level up by giving them estates which are gained through conquest. You'll end up with so many that loyalty becomes an afterthought. And speaking of characters, what is this leveling up system? I like the idea of having traits geared up in groups giving extra bonuses and drawbacks, but having leveling up be in followers instead of just the skill trees in the past is just strange. Only certain followers make sense while others can be avoided and don't add much. The more I play this, the more I see this as a beta for Three Kingdoms. And there's other things I can talk about regarding management of food, how food is consumed by your armies and decrees to make, but I'm getting kind of tired of talking about the campaign, so let's move on to the battles, shall we? If you've played Total War Attila, you'll be very familiar with the way battles feel. Fast and frenetic, with cavalry being incredibly powerful. Certain units and generals have abilities that can pretty much be powerful, while others are just not very powerful. Not much has changed here for better or for worse, although graphically this game looks far better than Attila with so much detail on the units and environments. Speaking of Attila, I really should talk about it soon. I mean, I've only put like 300 hours into it. No jokes, check my Steam account. But man, I don't know what was up with the battle AI for this one on normal. The AI has no clue how to use cavalry and just rushes their troops with no idea how to correctly flank. Battles on normal became very tedious because of this. Unit variety is also lacking. To be fair, I wasn't expecting camels or elephants here, but I expected more unit types like pikemen or maybe some bow cavalry, just some more units to differentiate a bit from each other. All we really have are Vikings getting a dozen types of axes and the English getting more variety of swordsmen. Especially since it's not like Shogun 2 where everyone's the same culture. I mean, we got English, Welsh, Gaelic, and Viking factions, so we have things to work with here. For siege battles, they're pretty much the same as expected. Since most of the fortifications are wooden, fire arrows will be your best friend, as well as catapults. Naval battles are also in this campaign coming back from Attila. Even though I don't really care for naval warfare in Total War, I'm glad they brought them back here given the time period. I mean, they had to give us something, right? With all that said, here's the biggest thing that'll put a lot of people off from buying this game. My first campaign only took 6 hours to complete the short military victory. 6 hours. To be fair, Alfred's campaign is listed as easy, but damn, I didn't think it was going to be this easy. Also, there are longer and different victory conditions to aim for. There are also fame and kingdom victories. And after reading community comments and trying some of the harder factions myself, I can tell that the game is not going to be as hard as other Total War games. I mean, there may be somewhat of a challenge, but it's just an overall shorter experience. And again, the challenge is just not comparable to legendaries on other Total Wars. One cool thing though is that if you go for a kingdom victory, your faction will actually change. For example, my faction became the Anglo-Saxons after completing the short kingdom victory. I wanted to go for the long one and become England, but then my income was incredibly low for so much damn corruption. Yeah, they didn't address the corruption from Attila either. Honestly, this just feels like a freaking DLC campaign, somehow getting its own standalone release, and being a Three Kingdoms beta as well. Unfortunately, there is also a lack of content outside of the campaign, which is expected given the smaller scale. No historical battles, which doesn't bother me, but may disappoint others. Multiplayer battles and campaigns are included, but good luck finding anyone. And it seems like Creative Assembly quickly moved on as there was not much post-launch support, only a handful of patches. Simply put, Thrones of Britannia is not the worst, but it's easily the most skippable title. With many odd design decisions and short length, there's not much to offer here. The battles work well enough, but don't do much to improve upon Attila's and can be seen as a step back in other regards. And in others, it just comes off as a beta for Three Kingdoms and a standalone DLC for Attila. Unfortunately, I really can't recommend this one unless you're a huge fan of the time period or you're like me and just want to own every single Total War game out there. Either way, I really hope that Troy can step up and do a far better job than this one. If not, the Saga series is gonna fade away like the sands of time. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for watching. This is Pow3rh0use, signing off. You think this is a game, Papa? Man, what did I tell you, Papa? You have to be careful, or the man is gonna get you. Comprende? As in the man scaring the crap out of me? Yeah, I got you. Listen, I was on the phone with 50 Blazer Great, and he is not happy with you telling people to unsubscribe from him. So now, I got a game right here, and this is gonna be the next one you're gonna have to review. Because if you don't do this, there's gonna be more consequences. Comprende?